Kimberly Jones, welcome to the Daily Social Distancing Show.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
Let's get straight into that video that went viral in a way that few videos can. What was interesting about this video was that so many people have been talking about what's going on in America, but this connected with people who maybe didn't understand what was happening before or didn't quite grasp the subject. So talk me through the video, like, because it seemed organic. It seemed like you were in the midst of, like, it looked like there were protests or something had happened. Talk me through how that video came to be.
So my friend David Jones was working on a documentary. He and I have both been out at the protest, separately, and he has taken his camera out and was recording. And so he called me that Sunday morning and said, "Hey, you're really good at like man on the street stuff. Can you come do some man on the street for me?" And I was like, "Sure." So we stayed all day. We ended up being at a protest later that day, but the time in which the video was recorded, people were out cleaning up downtown Atlanta. There was this large group of African American people who were downtown, cleaning up downtown, and they had spent their own money purchasing cleaning items and things like that. And I kept interviewing these people, and the consistent, notion was that, the focus was on the looting, and they were focused on the looting, and they were focused on what that was going to do to the narrative. And it just struck me in a really odd way that I felt like this is the direction that the narrative was going, that everyone was going to center the looting and lose focus on the real issue at hand. And so I just started talking, and David hit record on his camera, and that almost 7-minute video is what came out.
Using Monopoly was the perfect metaphor, because it was like that's what Monopoly is. It's a game where the rich get richer, and some people, you end up in jail and you don't get your 200, and I mean, most Monopoly games I know of end up with people flipping the board and hating each other.
They do that. Let me explain to you something about economics in America. And I'm so glad that as a child, I got an opportunity to spend time at Push where they taught me this, is that we must never forget that economics was the reason that Black people were brought to this country. We came to do the agricultural work in the South and the textile work in the North. Do you understand that? That's what we came to do. We came to do the agricultural work in the South and the textile work in the North. Now, if I right now decided that I wanted to play Monopoly with you, and for 400 rounds of playing Monopoly, I didn't allow you to have any money, I didn't allow you to have anything on the board, I didn't allow for you to have anything. And then we played another 50 rounds of Monopoly, and everything that you gained and you earned while you were playing that round of Monopoly was taken from you. That was Tulsa, that was Rosewood. Those are places where we built Black economic wealth, where we were self-sufficient, where we owned our stores, where we owned our property, and they burned them to the ground. So that's 450 years. So for 400 rounds of Monopoly, you don't get to play at all. Not only do you not get to play, you have to play on the behalf of the person that you're playing against. You have to play and make money and earn wealth for them, and then you have to turn it over to them. So then for 50 years, you finally get a little bit and you're allowed to play. And every time that they don't like the way that you're playing, or that you're catching up, or that you're doing something to be self-sufficient, they burn your game. They burn your cards. They burn your Monopoly money. And then finally, at the release and the onset of that, they allow you to play, and they say, okay, now you catch up. Now at this point, the only way you're going to catch up in the game is if the person shares the wealth, correct? But what if every time you share the wealth, then there's psychological warfare against you to say, oh, you're an equal opportunity hire. So if I played 400 rounds of Monopoly with you, and I had to play and give you every dime that I made, and then for 50 years, every time that I played, if you didn't like what I did, you got to burn it like they did in Tulsa and like they did in Rosewood, how can you win? How can you win? You can't win. The game is fixed. So when they say, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours. We don't own anything. We don't own anything.
Do you think that's where America is right now? Is people are flipping the board saying, I don't want to play because this game is not fair?
Yeah, I think that's exactly where people are. I think people are saying that the game is fixed. And I think there are people who are finally waking up and being empathetic to that, right? And saying, hey, I've been on the board and I've watched what's happened to you. And, now I'm recognizing too that the game is fixed. And like I'm outraged on your behalf. I'm not even, I'm not surprised even a little bit that this outrage has come on the back of a pandemic, because I
Mhm.
think it's the first time that people have been still and they've actually been able, they're not like taking the kid to soccer and going to work and doing all these things. And so they actually had the time to sit down and grapple with the issues, because
Right.
growth only comes from discomfort. And so you can't avoid, something that's going to make you uncomfortable if you're sitting on the couch stuck with it.